2024. We'll go ahead and start with roll call.
Chairman Dana Hennis,
Present.
Vice Chairman Brian Clark,
Present.
Commissioner Jeannie Greger, Commissioner Jim Main,
Present.
Commissioner Bobby Rossadillo.
Present.
Thank you. First up is the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next up on the agenda is under the public hearings, and it is regarding case number 24-02-AN. That's the annexation for the Powderhorn subdivision. Troy?
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Troy Buchanan, Senior Land Planner, CUNA Planning and Zoning Staff. So the application before you this evening requests annexation of approximately 41.50 acres into the city limits, and they are seeking the R6 zone, which is medium-density residential. Staff has reviewed the proposed annexation for qualification and for compliance with CUNA City Code, the Comprehensive Plan, Future Land Use Map, Idaho State statutes, and the CUNA City Code. And should the Commission recommend approval of the application, staff recommends that the applicant be subject to the proposed recommended conditions of approval listed in the staff's report. Since this application is for annexation only, staff would like to recommend that the Commission first make a motion and then make a decision to withdraw the following items from the record of exhibits: the design review application, the landscape plan for the pre-plat, the pre-plat open space exhibit, the preliminary plat phasing exhibit, the preliminary engineering report, the preliminary plat application, the preliminary plat legal description, the preliminary plat itself, streetlight specifications exhibit, subdivision name reservation, and the applicant's presentation that was included with the applicant. And staff will wait for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we withdraw the items that are just listed by Troy Buchanan.
Thank you.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nay? No. Thank you.
Staff also did not receive a memo from the Public Works Department, which makes this an incomplete record. Staff recommends that the Commission continue this meeting until the September 10th Commission meeting, and that would give staff enough time to work with Public Works and Engineering in order to receive the memo so that we can get that to you and to the public for review. Staff recommends that the Commission hear the presentation from the applicant and take public testimony from those persons tonight who are in attendance who may not be able to make the September 10th meeting. And it's up for the Commission to decide on that. I am here if you have any additional questions, and the applicant is also present.
Thank you, Troy. Any thoughts on that? I think it's a good idea to at least hear the application and public testimony, and then we just leave it open for the following,
I think so.
because there will be new information brought to the next.
And just to confirm, this will be a continuation of the public hearing on September 10th.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need to make them, okay.
For the record, Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning Staff, not until the end of the public testimony.
Perfect. So the applicant would like to come up and give the presentation. You just need to hit the light at the base of the microphone to turn it green.
Hello. Kelly Black with Bailey Engineering, 119-1119 East State Street, Eagle, Idaho, 83616, representing Trilogy Development for Powderhorn Subdivision. As Troy mentioned, we are requesting annexation and zoning for Powderhorn. Powderhorn is a 41.48 acre site located on the southeast corner of School Avenue and Mason Creek Road. The comprehensive plan and the future land use map have this site designated as medium density residential. The areas surrounding the site to the north, the east, and the south are also designated medium density residential. with low-density residential designated on the county parcels to the west. We are requesting an R6 zoning district with a medium-density zone, which is a medium-density zone. Sorry. The subdivision to the north is zoned R6, it's Silver Trail. The subdivision to the south is zoned R4, that's Denali Heights. And then the sites to the east and the west are county-zoned rural residential. Again, we are only seeking annexation and zoning at this time. We intend on bringing a preliminary plat application to the city at a future date. One other thing I wanted to mention is I did want to talk about the schools and the mitigation that has been provided by this developer. I think you have a letter from the CUNA School District. The developer has contributed 2 10-acre sites for use as future schools. In addition, the developer has donated funds to help with school programs. And that is all I have. Thank you for your time and consideration of annexation and zoning of Powderhorn. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for them?
Not at this time.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to open the public testimony for this case. I'll start with Robbie Reno.
Robbie Reno, CUNA School District, 711 East Porter Street, CUNA, Idaho. I am introducing Tim Jensen. He'll be taking over for me because our levy failed in the spring. I now have a new role in the district. I'll be the principal of both CUNA High and Swamp Falls High. That will not allow me to continue doing this work. But Tim will take over for me. And yeah, we just comment this validating our letter that this developer, he is a good developer. He has donated school sites and he's donated money for our school program. So we are in support of this annexation. I stand for any questions.
Any questions?
No.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your help, Robbie, over the
you,
years.
guys.
So, good to have you aboard. Next one I have on here is marked as not testify is Susie. Is that correct still? Okay, thank you. I have also to testify is Steve Hurd. Come on up. Just to reiterate, everybody's got 3 minutes to voice their opinion, and then the applicant will have some time to kind of rebut some of those questions or maybe answer some of your questions. So please state your name and address for the record as you come on.
My name's Steve Hurd. I'm at 2299 West Sagwan Drive, in CUNA, Idaho, 83634. I'm a resident of the Denali Heights subdivision. On the west side, that would back up the proposed partial road from Hubbard north to becoming school. First of all, my major concern is property values along that side. With a fence, 160 homes is a lot of cars going back and forth up and down that road. It's already congested in the morning coming out of Silver Trail onto 10 Mile. This would just add to that congestion and be a major inconvenience. I mean, people are going to take the shortest road possible to Hubbard. If they're going to CUNA, that's a lot of cars going down 1.5 lanes of traffic and a sidewalk right up against my fence. So I don't believe that's the look that we wanted in CUNA moving forward with the road plan. I believe there was an easement issue and stuff like that. Also, I would like to state right now, this is as of, I believe as of yesterday, the school situation that would impact Silver Trail Elementary. They're currently at 106% of enrollment this year. CUNA Middle School is at 91%. CUNA High School is at 103% of enrollment this year. That's without the additional homes being added, which would be built, once they start construction. It's going to move pretty fast. I believe they're proposing 3 phases. It would happen pretty fast, a lot faster than you can build a school on a 10-acre parcel. So, I mean, those are my major concerns. Access in and out of the subdivision and the school situation. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any questions for him? No.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all I have on the list presently for the Powderhorn subdivision. Is there anybody that's come into the room that wants to go ahead and testify in this application? Please come sign in for me, if you would. So, in favor or opposition or neutral? Anybody else? Okay. Next application. Is that okay? And Tammy, if you'd go ahead and take the podium, you've got your time.
Hi, my name is Tammy Huff, 8397 South Old Farm Place, Meridian, Idaho, 83642. So I just want to speak in generality as far as these large developments that continue to come through the works. Part of it is similar to the gentleman that spoke earlier with our schools. The last information that I got last year, the projection for the elementary school for this coming school year, we are at 108 to 113% capacity. Middle school is at 100%, and our high schools were at 107 to 111%. So it's fabulous. It's great that this developer is willing to contribute to help with getting our schools, but unfortunately, the community doesn't have the funds or is willing to help get those schools built. So there's no place for these, kids to go in the future that are going to be in these homes that are getting built. My husband and I continue to drive our kids out of district strictly to get to smaller classrooms. So I don't see that being fixed anytime soon. So constantly approving these large developments is, I don't see it a benefit for our kids or our community. And then in general with the roads, again, where are all these cars going to go? If anybody leaves CUNA currently at 4:30 to head to practice or to go to something, people coming home from work, it is backed up from Lake Hazel all the way to Amity and a little bit farther on. It's just a solid wall of cars for people coming home. I don't have to deal with morning traffic, but I used to a while ago, and at that point, it was also horrendous trying to get out of CUNA. So again, that is just going to continue to get worse. I have concerns about water. Where is all this water coming from to help these, these homes? All this land getting flipped over, our aquifers are not getting replenished. We're in a desert. Again, that's a huge concern is, what happens when we start running out of water. So I think we need to look at the fact that we've already approved, I think, over 6,000 to 7,000 homes to be built already. So I think we really need to look far in the future and the problems that may arise that we have short-term or actually don't even have any fixes for. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, that's the last name on the list for this Powderhorn subdivision. But as we spoke, that we're waiting for a revised report, finalized report from Public Works. So, do I have
Mr. Chairman, move that we table this conversation.
For the record, Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning. The proper motion would be to move to continue the public hearing to a date certain of September 10th.
Mr. Chairman, I move to continue on a date certain of September 10th for case number 24-02AN, Powderhorn subdivision.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So for those of you, just to clarify, I know you, Tammy, you came in late. There's some city information that they want to bring, review and bring to the table for the next time. So there will be continuation of the public hearing at that point for the new information as well. So look for that. Thank you. So next up on the agenda is going to be case number 23-02-ZC and 23-03-S for the Rivia subdivision. Troy?
Good evening, members of the commission. Again, for the record, Troy B. Hoonan, Senior Planner, Keno Planning and Zoning Staff. The applications before you this evening request approval to rezone approximately 63.5 acres from the agriculture zone to two different zones. First would be the C1 Neighborhood Commercial Zone and the R6 Medium Density Residential Zone. The applicant is also requesting preliminary plat approval in order to divide the same lands into 3 lots of commercial along Highway 69, 231 single-family lots, 7 private driveways, and 34 common lots. The applicant is also seeking design review approval for the common lots and their landscaping. Staff has reviewed the proposed rezone and the preliminary plat and the design review for compliance with CUNA City Code, Idaho State statutes, the CUNA Comprehensive Plan, the future land use map, and should the commission recommend approval to council of the applications and approve the design review application, staff would recommend to commission the applicant be subject to the proposed recommended conditions that are outlined inside staff's report. Again, staff did not receive a memo from the Public Works Department, which makes this also an incomplete record. Staff would recommend to the commission that this item be continued also to the September 10th commission meeting in order to give Public Works sufficient time to prepare and submit their memo so that it can be distributed to you folks and also reviewable by the public. Staff recommends that the commission hear the presentation by the applicant, take public testimony, especially from persons tonight, if they cannot make it to that meeting. And I am here for any questions that you might have, and I know that the applicant is also here.
So you're proposing
Thank you.
continuation to date certain of September 10th as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, can I make a point of clarification or ask a point of clarification? So
Yes.
if an attendee is here and testifies, they cannot testify the next time except for only on the new information that come out from Public Works, correct?
Correct.
So I just want to clarify that to everybody. So make sure that your points that are heard tonight are all of it, because next time it would only be on the new information. So, okay. If the applicant would like to come up.
Where's the hearing? Can you make it bigger? I think if you close the bookmarks, it'll make it bigger. Morgan's really good at this. It's good to have skills.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Kekaritz. I'm with Givens Pursley, 601 Bannock Drive. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Challenger Development. With me tonight is David Crawford, our engineer on the project. I want to start by saying thanks to Troy and the rest of the staff. As always, he's been a pleasure to work with. We get to present in lots of jurisdictions, and I don't always say that, and I certainly don't always mean it. And here, we are here tonight to present the Rivia subdivision, which is a mixed-use community with 231 residential lots, 3 large commercial pads fronting Meridian Boulevard on Highway 69. We're requesting a rezone and a preliminary plat approval. Just to orient you to the site, this project is towards the north of the Kuna city limits. It's actually right up there along the edge, directly south of Aristocrat Drive and to the west of Meridian Road. Directly to the, it might be easier to see. Directly to the north is the Pear Blossom subdivision, sort of to the northwest. Across Meridian Boulevard has recently been rezoned. To the south is an R8 and an R6 subdivision was recently approved. And to the west is the Spring Hill subdivision, which is also an R6 development that's been approved. The future land use map does show this as mixed use, which makes sense because so much of, with it fronting Meridian Boulevard, where you're not going to want to put homes, and with the rest of it behind heading to the west, where residential really makes a lot of sense here. This is a really quality development. It is going to provide an opportunity for individuals in this subdivision and surrounding subdivisions the ability to get to businesses on Meridian Boulevard without having to go out onto Meridian Road, to just be right there. And that's part of the reason we're also requesting neighborhood commercial, to have slightly more locally sized businesses versus huge box stores. That just doesn't really fit on this site. The zoning currently is agriculture, as you can see here. To the north, this is a neighborhood in transition. To the north, I mentioned, is the Pear Grove, Pear Blossom subdivision. The east is, there's a C2 lot across the highway. To the south is R6 and R8. It's not reflected on the zoning maps yet. And to the west is R6. So an R6 and a C1 development here is absolutely compatible with the neighborhood. You can see here sort of more of the layout. There is the C1 area, which is 13.6 acres, which has 3 large pads that could be individually sold off, as well as the remainder of the site, which I'll show you in a minute, does include a large park area and enhanced buffers to the surrounding neighborhood. Staff's done a great job of going through and explaining how this is harmonious with the comprehensive plan, so I'm not going to go through all of this. There's also just a lot of small print on here, but it really does provide a nice subdivision in an area of Kuna that is rapidly transitioning. It allows businesses to come in here. It allows people to work here with easy access to the highway and to downtown Kuna. All right, so the preliminary plat. This is about 63.5 acres. They are proposing the 232 residential lots, 3 commercial lots. One of the things that I think is really nice about this subdivision is there are quite a few connections both to and through this subdivision for both car traffic and for pedestrians and vehicles. As you come into the subdivision on the northern boundary off of Aristocrat Drive, the first thing you can do is turn left down Siri Drive. This is the proposed backage road that ultimately will be extending behind businesses all the way down through Meridian Road as it gets developed, and it provides a nice way for residents to access these current and future businesses as time goes on without needing to get onto the highway. Then there is the main entrance, as you continue down Aristocrat Drive, there is the main entrance into the subdivision. After the meeting with the Pear Blossom residents, they specifically requested that this intersection not line up with Angel Drive, which is their primary entrance into their subdivision, which is a little bit further to the west. That really helps alleviate some traffic concerns. The cars will be getting off the road right there at Aristocrat versus coming into their subdivisions, maybe getting more confused, spending time up in there, which is a larger lot subdivision. So you turn into the subdivision, and then you can see that the streets wind around throughout. There is one change to this. One of the connections to the south, the one that's in the middle heading south, has now been moved over farther to the west so that it will connect down straight through to the Astor Grove subdivision, which was approved within the last couple of months. And so there will be enhanced connectivity to the current and future subdivisions in this area, as well as then you head out towards the west onto K Drive. Which is the new collector road that is proposed to be there. Additionally, in meeting with the Pear Blossom neighbors, one of the concerns was bringing in a development with this much density adjacent to it. And so there is now even after the road stops and the Pear Blossom Road turns up to the north, there is now a pathway along that entire northern boundary. That's in a 20-foot easement, and so that is with the additional setbacks of the homes. And so there has been some real effort made to really separate and keep this development south of the rest of the Pear Blossom. In addition, this does follow, I believe it's the Ransom Canal, and most of the trees along there, based on landscape buffers and its location along Aristocrat Drive, are going to survive. We're only anticipating needing to lose a few of the trees there. There's also, as you can see through here, pathways leading into this large park area in the center. And finally, we're proposing phasing in 4 phases. And then finally, there are public services to this lot. It's already located within the city of Boise. The developer is in agreement with all of the ACHD conditions of approval, including to the extent that ITD will allow it, working with ITD on various improvements to the intersection of Aristocrat and the highway. They have their timeline and their plans and some certain developments that they want to go in, but they're certainly willing to help with those. Sewer, there currently is, this developer is also one of the owners of the Spring Hill development directly to the west. So there is sewer availability directly to the west through the Spring Hill lift station, or depending on the timing of this coming online, hopefully the new Mason Creek trunk line could also be up and running by then, and there would also be direct sewer into that. Water is also available. As far as schools, this developer has also donated several school sites with the prior applicant to the school district, as well as there's another application that you're going to hear in a few weeks where this particular lot is not big enough, this site, for a school site, but really just one development to the south, they will be proposing a school site there. In addition, they've started looking at charter school options because those have easier options for being able to bond. So really taking a proactive look at how to make sure that the children that are coming to CUNA, that want to live here, that want to go to school here, are able to be taken care of. And with that, we are going to be requesting a recommendation of approval for the rezone from Ag to R6 and C1 and for the preliminary plat. I'll stand for any questions now, but can also answer questions in September.
You have any questions?
Not currently.
I've just got a couple, kind of in general for prep for the next meeting. So you said you're okay with everything with ACHD's conditions of approval, but they're recommending that Aristocrat become 3 lanes each way from
No, one lane each way with a through turn lane.
Okay,
A
I must have
three-lane.
misread that, because I was wondering how you're gonna keep the trees. So, now, they also are saying to put a signal out on Meridian Road at Aristocrat. And it's all on you, not just ITD.
It's a recommendation with ITD's approval. ITD's been looking at those, the last time I looked at this, they've been looking at those sort of like big, what are they called? Yes, they're these big, long turnaround, jog-arounds. But that's, I mean, that is completely outside of the developer's control, what they choose to do there.
Agreed, yes. Now, lastly, just the topography of the site. It looks like these commercial lots that you're proposing have quite a drop-off from the roadway down. Are you planning to fill up to this, or how's the topography blend into this? Because it's kind of confusing for me how this lays out.
Commissioner Hennis, that is a really good question. We have our engineer here who could speak to more of the topography issues with that.
Yeah, I'd love to
It's
know a little
generally
bit
a-
on it, just so that we have information, kind of what you're thinking.
Commissioner, my name is David Crawford with Centurion Engineers, representing Rivia subdivision here tonight. So there isn't a specific plan known for the development now. It just kind of exists. And so as plans come in for specific developments, we typically see a mix of travel ways and building sizes and stepping of the slopes to make sure we have ADA pedestrian connectivity and that stuff through the development, but it's really site-specific. So I've done a number of commercial hillside developments. Unfortunately, they're fun, but they definitely can be done.
Right.
But there's a combination of things that typically occur. You just don't know exactly what it's going to look like until you've planned for what you're proposing.
Agreed. I guess it just kind of confuses me, because if we want to agree upon a preliminary plat, that kind of has effects on setbacks and slopes and retaining walls, terraces, et cetera. So that's kind of why I was asking what the general thought was.
So the preliminary plat as presented creates those lots for that development to be able to occur. And when you do commercial development in the future, then you get through the design review process to see what's being specifically proposed and how that integrates with the topography.
Okay.
So on that note, I believe I missed this in your presentation, I apologize. Commercial access will be off of Meridian Road, or will be off of Siri?
It will be off of Aristocrat to Siri, yes. There'll be no direct access.
Okay. But yeah, as far as that's concerned, so that's not as big a deal, as it will be below Meridian Road. So it would be, Aristocrat would take a lot of that grade.
Right, but I
down
mean,
to
there's a
Siri.
significant grade there in looking at that, because this is a nice two-dimensional plat, but there's a lot of drop-off
Oh, no, I'd want
there.
to see a preliminary grading plan
So,
on this one.
yeah, and I think on this one, it also has to do with just the amount of homes. How do you cram all that in when you've got a lot of ups and downs? So that's why I'm kind of trying to get some information
So
to think about.
You'll have to show me what you're talking
Yeah.
about, because I mean, the image I'm looking at is a giant flat field.
Right, that's my point, exactly. It looks great two-dimensionally, so.
Well,
I just drive by
the way
that
it is
a lot,
currently
so I know.
two-dimensional,
So, okay.
Well, while we have the engineer here, I have a couple questions. Could you tell me about the water and septic system for Pear Blossom?
Yeah, Commissioner, David Crawford again with Centurion Engineers. There is an existing large soil absorption system. It's an SBR system that was created with the Pear Blossom subdivision. We've designed this subdivision to work around that so that can stay in place and functioning until such time as it may need to be abandoned.
So their septic system is on this property,
Correct.
okay? And how about their water system?
The individual wells.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, so at this time, I'll go ahead and open the public testimony at 6:39. And I will start with Robbie Reno.
Robbie Reno, Kuna School District, 711 East Porter Street, Kuna, Idaho. One thing we appreciate about this project is the commercial. As you know, commercial in Kuna is only 10% of the land use, and so 90% of that burden is on our homeowners to help pass bonds and to pay for those levies. Again, this developer has donated acres that save our taxpayers dollars, over $2 million in land donations. That takes the money off of when we ask for a bond. And yes, we are crowded, we are full, but we have plans. We have a 10-year plan that if we could pass the bonds, even with the growth that happens, we can accommodate this. We just have to pass the bonds, and so we can't. And these take time to come. This might come later, but we can absorb them, and they have proposed in the next development to propose another school site for that to be able to accommodate not just this area, but the existing area with all the development that's happening on Hubbard Road. So I stand for any questions.
Thank you.
So I do have a question, and I think it's great that these developers are contributing,
Yep.
Whether it's land or financially, because it's at their discretion. But let's say that a bond or levy is not passed in the future, and something like this gets approved. How does that get affected with it? Because obviously, it's a significant amount of money that it would take to build a new school, and the land is great unless there's no school there.
It's the crux we're in right now.
Yeah.
The state of Idaho requires, 6 2/3. We're one of 2 states in the union that require a supermajority on a bond, and we require no impact fees for schools. And so that's where our state legislature needs to help out our community in changing those rules and those laws. Right now, yes, it's a conundrum that we're in, because we have some developers that do nothing, and they come in and they do this, but we have a developer who really supports our mission and helps us out and saves our taxpayers millions of dollars. And so it's the conundrum that we're in. It's the system that we're in. And so it's a weird spot to be in.
So when you have a developer that comes in, if this gets approved or, another one gets approved type of, that are, just speaking in, broad terms here, does that affect what the bond will be, looked at, like how much money is being considered for the bond?
Yeah, because for example, on our last bond proposal, it was, no tax impact for tax increase for taxpayers. We were going to build a site on Patagonia. That developer donated, that 10-acre site, which valued at $1.2 million. That's $1.2 million we don't have to go to bond for. And so that gets passed on directly to those taxpayers, where yes, we still have to bond to build the building, but that we don't have to go out and buy that land. Our board has set that because in the past, before this, we've had to buy the lots of the schools. So where Swamp Falls is, we had to buy that. Where Kuna High is, we had to buy that. Where Crimson Point, Reed, Silver Trail, we had to buy that lot with bond money. Ms. Greger was a part of a lot of those, and those costs, those were expensive, and those were passed on to the taxpayers. Where now developers are kind of, they always say developers help, they should pay for their own. Well, this one he's donated a lot of money to help save our taxpayers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Next up, I have Renee McGowan.
Good evening. My name is Renee McGowan, and I live at 7148 South Pear Blossom Way. My husband and I moved here a little over 10 years ago. When we were looking for a home, we were very intentional about the kind of property we wanted to purchase and the neighborhood we wanted to be a part of. We specifically chose a home that was located in a quiet, spacious subdivision. We did not want to live in a busy, noisy, crowded environment. We would be naive to believe that the area around us would not grow, and indeed, we have seen tremendous growth in the 10 years since we have been here. People generally embrace healthy growth and welcome progress when it does not overwhelm and completely change the character of their community. It came as no surprise that the property south of us was purchased by a local developer, and plans were made to build a new subdivision there. What is surprising and even shocking is that the developer has employed such an aggressive approach to the project design with no regard for the impact on the established residents of our Pear Blossom community, which is zoned R1. The plan, as it is being submitted to you for approval, is absolutely inappropriate and completely unacceptable without considerable modifications. It is absolutely not compatible to the area, as indicated by the previous speaker. It utterly ignores the tremendous adverse effect it will impose on every homeowner in our small neighborhood, and most particularly to those whose homes border the proposed development. These objections are not news to this developer. I, along with many other Pear Blossom homeowners, attended the neighborhood meeting last year with representatives of the developers. We adamantly expressed our significant concerns about the density of the proposed subdivision, particularly along the western and southernmost boundary, which borders Pear Blossom. While there were a few minor changes to the overall original design, our major concerns were totally disregarded and blatantly not addressed in the plans that are being submitted for you for approval. I urge this body to reject the current plans and to require the developer to go back to the drawing board to design a subdivision that takes its neighboring community, an existing community, I might add, not one that's been approved and not yet built, but does not take its neighboring community into consideration and does not provide for a transition between our subdivisions that respects our tranquil environment and protects our property values. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, I have Julie Hall.
Can I reserve my time for the next meeting?
Yes, I believe that shouldn't be a problem. I'll just mark you as. Okay, Dave English?
Howdy, gentlemen. My name is Dave English. I live at 720 West Aristocrat Drive. I'll try to keep this short. My main concern, what I want to bring up right now, is the completely unacceptable transition of density, or rather the lack of transition of density. This is an R1 neighborhood. We have our one house on 1 acre. What is proposed right next to our house are 11 homes, 2-story homes, looking into our backyard. There's not a community in this valley that I am aware of that hasn't had other places built next to them that have a transition of density from R1 to R2, R3, maybe R4, and so on as it progresses into the neighboring area. We've had discussions with these folks before. They've heard our requests. They have completely ignored them. We also have a sewage system that's working fine, has been working fine for 20 years. The idea of us having to hook up to another sewage system is going to be extremely costly. There's other issues with that. I just want to limit my point here to the sectional, the transition of density. You're going to introduce multiple family homes here, multiple children that are, I don't know how CUNA is going to take care of this. They can't pass a bond as it is. I can see an awful lot of issues with that. There's a lot of issues here. But the sectional density and the traffic that's going to bring into our road there, and I don't know what they're going to do with widening it, because you can only widen it so much, and I hear these proposals of 3 lanes. I don't think that'll work. My point is, I simply vehemently oppose the plan as they have it, with all those multiple homes right next to our property, as just one example. It's right there. 11 homes looking into our backyard of our one home. I don't need to say much more than that. If you want my opinion here in writing, you're welcome to it. It's just what I emailed folks. I don't know if that's good enough, or, my word is good enough for you.
We've got that in our application.
Okay.
So yes, we've got that.
Yeah, I don't know if this is in the application or not, but
We emailed it in, correct?
I just emailed it to my neighbors when we were talking about talking points, and I don't see it on the talking point.
Okay, it's not in there, okay. So you can submit that too.
Yeah,
Staff.
it's just an email, that's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sir?
Next is Kyle Armstrong.
Yep, my name's Kyle Armstrong. I live at 7234 South Angel Way. First, I just wanted to make a statement on the sewer system, just real quick, not everything on it, but I don't know if you guys have been given all the information on the sewer system, because they say that, they'll build around it. Their phase one shows it basically right on top of it, and then the pipe that goes in the drain line that goes all the way to the drain field, which is on the lower portion, so it actually extends nearly all the way from the top to nearly the entire bottom. And they have houses on top of the drain field. So I don't know how you start anything with that being there. We've paid for that for the last 20 years. In the plans, on the original approved plans, it has an easement that we have on that area. So I'm not sure how they haven't addressed that in any way, and I don't know if they've shared that information with you guys. So, but right now, documentation says it's ours until it's abandoned, right? And we're still paying for it every year, taking care of it. Other thing I want to address was on the bottom of Aristocrat Drive, the south side of it, that currently has an easement that it supplies Pear Blossom subdivision. With the widening of the road, their documentation and plans are not clear what happens to that. That has irrigation and other electrical lines and sewer and parts of it that isn't clearly outlined on what happens to that. We've been maintaining that whole grass area for the last 20 years as well, and having to maintain. The other part of this is it's unclear what ACHD is recommending as far as standards of this road goes, and what they're trying to redevelop and widen the street. But it's, right now, our understanding, it's only doing one half of the road and not the other half of the road. So how do they only do one half of the road if they're gonna need to widen it, because you're gonna run into those utility lines that run along the bottom of it, okay? And then the other one is in the proposed plan, where they showed phase one that starts up. The only exit is coming out. So the egress coming out is gonna be coming onto Meridian Road, which we know that is gonna be horrible unless there was a light there. But until K Street is brought all the way through, there's only gonna be one exit in and out of all those homes. And that, in the mornings, is a nightmare. Okay, so that's not gonna work, and it's gonna be ridiculous for anybody trying to get out on Meridian Road. You just can't do it, so. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, I have Sergey. Sorry, I'm terrible with names.
Good evening, Council. And so my name is Sergey Kashubin. I live on 7159 South Pear Blossom Way. We've been there for about 3 years. We built a house there with the same intent to have the spacious lot and enjoy the quietness of the neighborhood that this area provides. I'm not against development. Development is what keeps city thriving and moving forward. I'm just concerned about some of the things that are brought up with this particular development that are not addressing existing subdivision and concerns. As you've heard already, I don't want to repeat myself here, but we do request that this plat be redesigned in mind, and our concerns that we did verbalize at least twice to the developer's engineer about transitioning. They were completely ignored, so we asked that you ask them to consider those transitional points. Septic is a big one. Everybody likes when toilets work and sewer system is functioning. We are at risk losing that if this is approved as is. So I feel like we should really look into it and get all the details, how it was designed, how it was approved 20 years ago, and how that's going to work with current development and such. We also have this monument, and you probably passed the road, you see that Pear Blossom subdivision that's paid for, it and built there. It's a significant, like a entry point. We wonder what's going to happen to it. Will the developer move it over past that entry point and set it up for us to kind of keep our heritage same? Since that is a well-developed subdivision, we should probably keep some of that in place. No need to say about the schools. Having a bunch of dirt is awesome, but if there's no money to build on it, it's not going to help anybody. And I know there's convincing donations coming in for the land, but that's really until the actual money is passed through the bonds to build the schools, to facilitate the needs for the kiddos. That's just up in the air. So I want you to really consider that as a possibility, that it may take years and years before that actually happens, even though the land is donated. And one more thing, just escaped me. Anyways, thank you guys, appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Galena. Oh, not testified. Thank you. Okay, next up is Aaron. Furman?
Hello. We had a designated person that was going to come and speak, and she couldn't make it, so we're all kind of ad hocing it here. I was really only going to come and say here a few times and go home, but let me give some notes that she'd given us. Specifically, my name is Aaron Furman, 7262 South Angel Way. So I'm the first house in the subdivision when you come into Pear Blossom subdivision. I think the concern I wanted to bring up mostly is just the sewer system, and Kyle brought it up earlier. It was mentioned that they'll be able to build this without any interruption or impact to the sewer system, and I'm really concerned about that there's just no way. The sewer system's smack dab in the middle of phase one. We have, I think, 9 big, huge sewage vaults right there that are pumping from one to another to another. I think it's phase one, like lot 19 is our sewer system. So there's no way they're doing phase one with our sewer system. And then we've got a huge multi-acre drain field right smack dab in the middle of all those houses. And obviously there's no way you can build houses on top of a drain field. So I just don't see how it's possible. And like it was mentioned, we do have an easement with that sewer system. So I'm curious about that. A couple other notes. We did have a March 2023 neighborhood meeting. The minutes, as we went back and looked at those minutes, they didn't reflect any of the conversations that we had with the developer about the sewer system. So somehow those were missed, and so maybe those notes weren't, maybe that information wasn't passed on to you because they weren't in the notes of the subdivision or the neighborhood meeting. We didn't see any staff reports from ACHD, and Aristocrat Drive is ACHD Road, or Central District Health Department regarding the Pear Blossom septic system. So we'd kind of like to see what their thoughts are. So that was kind of the main thing for me is what's going to happen with that. And then we didn't see any plan for, assuming our septic or our sewer system is going away, what's the plan to get us sewer? We haven't seen anything that would address that. If we have to connect up to this, we all have sewage vaults in the backyard that are all pumping to our sewer system. And so it's going to have to pump into, I'm assuming, the subdivision system or the main line that they were talking about. But somehow we're going to have to hook that up, and I don't see any plans on how is that expense, if they're taking away our drain field and our sewer system, what are the plans to ensure that we're not out of pocket to hook ourselves up to sewer when that happens? And what others said, we're not against development. We want to work with the developer. We have no problem with the subdivision going in there. We're fine with that. We just want to make sure it's done in a thoughtful way and that some of these issues get addressed. I guess this, finally, the road out of Aristocrat, we only have 20 homes in there right now, and if you go at, 7:30 in the morning, at any given time, there's 10 cars backed up right there. I don't know how we're gonna get out of that subdivision with another couple hundred houses and one exit onto Meridian Road, 55 miles an hour, and we're having to turn into traffic or cross traffic and go through. So my alarm went off. I appreciate the time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Okay, next to testify, I have John Lone.
Thank you. Again, my name is John Lane. That's L-A-N-E. I live at 7213 South Pear Blossom Way in Meridian. Been there getting close to 3 years. One of the reasons that we chose this subdivision in particular is because of that R1 designation. We wanted that land so that we can have a feel or a connection to our food source. We have a garden and chicken stuff back there for our family and friends that we host all the time. That R1 gets, let's just say, it gets a lot crowded when you put R6 right next to it. I believe our back fence, which is also going to be a development, is slated for R4, which is a little bit better. I came from the state that won't be mentioned, but there, one of the reasons that we left was because of developments like the one that's being proposed. We saw that riddling through various communities. All these homes were being built, but the infrastructure wasn't. And when infrastructure is not built, that means the schools are hurting, right? We're overcrowded with schools. We're starting to see that here. It's not a good thing. The roads aren't safe anymore. We've talked about that ingress, egress off of Meridian. Yes, we could all turn right out of that subdivision, but that's not the law right now, so everybody turns left. So if we've got 20 plus 200, so 220 people with 2 cars each, that's 400 cars that want to go left onto Meridian with no light, and then coming back in, at the end of the workday or what have you. If you've ever made that turn, I implore everybody, try to make that turn onto Aristocrat at rush hour when you got people going 65 on your tail and there's no turn lane. If you go 3 miles up the road, those subdivisions have a turn lane, so you can get into them. There's nothing here. So when I've got the 3 kids in the back of the car, I'm thinking, man, am I gonna get spun out today? Especially on one of those winter days. Again, I'm from that state that doesn't be known. We're still learning how to drive on ice here. But that is a major concern for us. Now, one of the positive things that I think the developer is bringing to the table is that commercial lot. It would be nice to have some more of those stores and storefronts out there, 1 for jobs and 2 for some convenience for all of the subdivisions that are down here. It takes roughly 15 minutes to get to the freeway and the stores down there, and then another 5 to 10 to come this way to CUNA and get those done. So, there's positives and negatives, not wanting to stand in the way of developers at all, but I think it could be done in a lot more meaningful and collaborative way with us. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, last on the list currently is Tammy.
Tammy Huff, 8397 South Old Farm Place, Meridian, 83642. So I'm just speaking in generality with concerns of all the development that is getting approved for CUNA. I'm not personally affected by this particular development other than the big scheme of it seems like the constant need to put as many houses on every available speck of dirt. So I think we need to start asking for smaller amounts of homes on these, big lots that are approved to help lessen the burden of everything that's going on in CUNA with our amount of kids that need schools, no place for all these cars to go. It's just too much, and we don't know the projection of years down the road, once all these homes that have been approved, what's gonna happen when these bonds continue to fail, because the folks don't have the money, these schools don't get built, the streets aren't, being able to handle all these cars that are going on the road. So, I'll give you the numbers again, excuse me, for the schools, like I did at the last one. Our elementary schools were at 108 to 113% capacity for this school year. Middle schools are at 100%, and our high schools are at 107 to 111%. So, these kids are our future for CUNA. So if they're not getting a good education, our future for CUNA is not looking so hot. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. That is everybody on my list currently. Is there anybody that's present that hasn't signed up that would like to testify? Seeing none? Thank you. I think at this time, we've talked about doing a continuation.
Chairman, if I may, just Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning staff, we will make sure that the Public Works memo addresses as much as we can the sewer system infrastructure from Pear Blossom. It's a bit of an odd situation because it is on a property not owned by the Pear Blossom HOA, and it was approved in the county, so we'll do as much fact-finding as we can on that to present it at the next meeting.
Perfect, thank you. I was wondering about that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move to continue the public hearing on a date certain, September 10th, for case number 23-02ZC and 23-03S, Rivia subdivision.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And again, next time, we will have new information that's going to be posted on the website on those reports. So the next testimony will be taken on that as well, that, so. No, they will be recorded. Yeah, thank you. I think with that, I don't have anything further on the agenda. Is there any reports from staff?
For the record, Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning. Just one quick update. You'll notice on the consent agenda, item 2B, decision and reason statements. Those will essentially take the place of the findings of fact, conclusions of law. It's what we discussed a couple months ago as far as decisions and reason statements. So when we're making these recommendations and decisions on applications, it's just.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.